My people, mi pueblo, my people. How you doing, my people? Mi pueblo, my people. My people. How you doing, my people? Mi pueblo, mi people. How you doing, my people? Just in the mood to talk, chat with y'all for a little bit. I'm doing a little different today, but it's still me, still pretty much the same form. And just what they say, there's no perfect practice. Don't make perfect, right? What practice makes better. Practice makes improvement. Practice. What is practice? Practice is the art of consistency, right? It's the art of like anything that you do. If you do it with joy and repetition, the intention that you have as you're doing it will manifest. It's just it. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I've know through experience, but kind of forgot because of, I didn't realize it. I didn't know it consciously. I just knew it through doing. You understand? I didn't learn to do it. I wasn't taught to the way that I was being, the way that I was moving, the way that I knew, the way I wasn't taught to be me. All of us are born masters of ourselves. Our ori, some of us have strong ori, some of us have strong ori in various ways. The ori of our strength differs because ori is divinity, period. So the specificity of ori is going to be unique to the individual, of course, just as unique as our fingerprints, just as unique as our facial structures. Even identical twins don't look exactly alike. So, we gotta be consistent, right? We gotta be consistent because consistency, especially. Okay, so here's a quote that I found in a book. Now I don't even remember the book, right? But I know the book that the quote comes from. See, I found the quote was referenced in a book, but the book that I read from, I don't recall the book. But the book that the quote comes from is in the photograph of the book that I took. So when I was reading it, I was like, what? This is something that I've already been on. Click. And I took a picture of it so that I wouldn't lose it, wouldn't forget about it, and kind of forgot about it. I didn't really forget about it, but I'd be moving 1,000 miles an hour. So it was pushed to the background of my thinking, you know what I'm saying? But I had that photo. And it wasn't until recently I was doing something completely different. That's how I'll be doing sometimes because how my mind works. I was looking for photos for a website that I was working on, and a really nice photo I want to use. My intention is in the websites that I built uses many of the photos that I've actually taken. That way, I can manipulate the photos, put, and do better SEO work on it. So I'm gonna work on that. But that's a little sidebar. So I came across the photo of the quote. And the quote, this is the quote: "A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he's doing, and leave others to determine whether he's working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both." That's LP Jacks, Education Through Recreation, right? And when I read this today, it resonated with me because in my recollection, in my feeling, in my spirit, I recall finding another quote around the same time that speaks about a master. And it's a quote that was always given to me as a child because people recognized that I had the capacity of doing a bunch of different things very well. And so the quote was, my grandpa used to say, "Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none." Don't be a jack of all trade and a master of none. Boy, you know how to do a little bit of everything. Don't be a jack of all trade and a master of none. That's how he would say it to me. And he was right. He was like, don't be a jack of all trade and master of none, meaning that don't, it would beneficial to myself to be able to be good at a bunch of random things, you know what I mean? And not master anything, right? And when I heard that as a child, my internal response was, yeah, thank you, Papa. Thank you for the advice, because he was, my great grandfather. You know what I'm saying? And it incentivized me to understand the idea of being a master of self. I'm a jack of all things and a master of self. Jack of all things and a master of self. Master of one, master of I. Jack of all trade and master of one. The actual quote that comes from says, jack of all trade and a master of none is often better than a master of one. That's how that original track is recorded. The original quote. Now, I don't recall the author of that quote, but that's that original quote. And even in that quote, it suggests that, being a jack of all trade has its value, and it's an extreme value even by that quote, because it says it's oft better than being a master of one. Oft meaning often better than being a master of one. So sometimes having a guy who can understand all the rules for accounting, and understand all the rules for taxes, and understand all the rules for management, understand all the rules for IT, understand all the rules for logistics, and understand all the rules for. He may not be the perfect guy he may not be the guy you want running your logistics operations, but he might be the exact guy you want running the whole ship. Because even though his mastery is not in the thing, like the captain of the ship is not a master of engineering, but I guarantee you, if a certain situation occurred, you got that captain down in the bowels of that ship, he get that boat running. He might not be a master of mechanics, master of engineering, but I guarantee you, I said it, guarantee you, that he's a master of that ship and a master of navigating that ship. You understand? And still capable of doing what most of the crew, just about that, above average for the crew in the area of engineering, above average for the crew in the area of the kitchen. What they call it? They don't call it the kitchen on a ship, whatever. Above average for the radio, above average in the navigation, above average, in all these various aspects. But then you get someone who can be super specific to fix the radio if it ever goes down. So I use the analogy of a ship because I'm talking about a master of one, right? Or a master of self. And ultimately, self is a ship. Like this quote says, the master of the art of living. Like, every soul on the planet is on earth for living. Like, everyone is born to live. Every spirit born flesh is born to live. If you argue any other thing about what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing it, boom, 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 boom. It can be a various plethora of manifestations or what you're doing, but being born to live is essentially what every person born is born to do. And if the art of living can be mastered, wait a minute. That's my purpose. And so then, okay, again, it means to master the self. Now, let me tell you something. I kind of came with this idea of like being a self-master when I was a kid, man. Like this is the thought process that I went through. The only difference between now and when I was a kid is that I got references that I ain't the only person that think like that. But it just speaks to say, okay, what I was doing when I was a kid worked. And I could tell you that I could almost tell you exactly when it stopped, changed, manifested differently, right? And then I could almost tell you the moment when I realized I can get that back. And I started to process the methods and the intention of getting that back. And what I've come across along the way is something that we all aspire, or maybe not we all aspire. That's probably a little extra, but we know, no, we all aspire to be successful. And the key to success is self-mastery. And all of the masters have said it. All of the guides have said it. And it's the truest truth. We have to be true. Self-mastery is no better art form on the planet. So just be a master of living. My man LP Jack says he doesn't say the way to do it, but what he does say is that there's no distinction between playing and working. He's saying there's no distinction between recreation and education. He said there's no distinction between labor and leisure. You know what I'm saying? Like he says it a couple of different ways to make sure that you get it. No real distinction between the mind and the body. No significant distinction. Because if you think you can pick a 2,000-pound car off of your child, I bet you can do it. Praise the Almighty for the grace that we have not the opportunity to experience that truth. However, we know of those who do and have done. So, self-mastery. That's it, man. That's it. And if you got that, then what you got? Everything. You mastered the purpose of your birth, to live. Boom. Soup, 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 soup. Yeah, man. So I'm just having some fun. Bless up, bless up.